Welcome to Real Estate Real World, where we talk to the movers, shakers, and leaders that are getting it done right now in the real estate industry and beyond. Your host, Marguerite Crespillo, started this podcast simply dedicated to call people about what's really happening in this crazy roller coaster ride of real estate. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and stay up to date on the newest stuff by adding yourself to the list at www.realestaterealworld.com. Now your host, Marguerite Crespillo.
Hello, everybody. It's Marguerite Crespillo, and it's that time for Real Estate Real World, where we get to talk to all the cool people who are moving and shaking and doing things right now in this crazy industry we call real estate. So I've been a part of it for 30 years, and I've met some pretty inspiring people who I have seen do some amazing things. And today is without a doubt one of my favorite people on the planet. So I'm going to introduce her real quickly. I'm going to briefly read her bio. Alicia Woodward is a wife and mother of two beautiful children who I say are my grandchildren. No, biologically they're not, but I'm going to say they are anyway. Born and raised in Roseville, California, she's discovered immense joy in representing home buyers and sellers in the greater Sacramento and Placer areas. With a deep-seated passion for interior design and the desire to foster healthy communities, real estate has seamlessly aligned with her talents and interests. Alicia finds her greatest fulfillment in her career when given the opportunity to educate her peers and clients alike. She's shown true leadership in working with our team, and she has conducted numerous training sessions for both clients and fellow agents. Despite being relatively new to the real estate industry with just 1 year and 4 months now of experience, she has already successfully closed several homes, all while maintaining a full-time commitment to her young children at home. So welcome, Alicia.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hi. So you know what? I have to tell the story because so clients and consumers can understand, and agents, how I actually met you. So 25 years ago, I think it's been almost 22, 23 years ago, I sold a home to her grandfather, Mark, and him and his wife. And I sold that home to them. And then about a year, almost a couple of years ago now, he reached back out to me and he said, "Hey, I think it's time. We're going to sell our home and move out of state." So I helped represent them in selling their home here in California so they could move to Texas. And as part of that, Alicia was over there like cleaning the house and reorganizing and redecorating and basically setting the stage for them to sell their home, doing the staging for it. And she said, "Yeah, I'm in the middle of getting my license." I'm like, and Mark's, "You have to go work with Marguerite, period. That's all there is to it."
Yeah.
So she was on our team for about a year, and I knew she wasn't going to last long on the team because she's a very independent soul and spirit, and she's a hustler. So I was thrilled to have you on our team for the time you were there, but I'm even more proud of you of what you're doing now. So how are you?
Oh, thank you. Good. It was definitely the best decision I made to join the team versus mentorship because you have those options. You either mentor for 3 transactions or you go for a team. And I interviewed a couple of brokerages and everyone almost was like scaring me out of the business. And I had just got my license. I didn't know what to expect. And I was trying not to focus on the commission splits and all those things. Like, where would I get the most value? And it was clear that you guys had the best support system out of everybody. So it was a no-brainer. Plus, I have to listen to what my papa thinks is a good idea too, because I trust his opinion. So yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I always laugh and joke with him because he can be a little cranky and a little gruff and rough around the edges. But I just adore those types of people because they're blunt and they tell you like it is.
Yeah.
So I love your grandfather and your grandmother. They're great people, some of my favorite people on the planet. So it aligned perfectly to have you here working with us now.
Yeah. I remember one of the first things you said when we met was that you wouldn't answer any of my questions until I passed the test. And I was like, so adamant that like you could have helped me, but now I get that you just have to get through that part because the real world is completely different. Nothing you learn
Yeah.
in school is even applicable.
That's what I try to tell people, and they probably all feel like you do. That's rude. Why won't you answer my questions? And it's not a matter of not answering questions, really. It's just, it could actually do more harm than good.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to tell people. I'm like, because I'm going to tell you what I've been doing for the last 30 years, which is not at all what the test will say. And it's going to
Right.
confuse you.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and
So
it's you taught me not to be overly reliant on people too. Like at the end of the day, you make your business in this industry, and if you rely too heavily on other people, then it ends up actually hurting you. And that kind of brings me to one point too is that like the hardest thing for me is I started in my opinion, and you might agree, it's like the hardest time to start in real estate. Like 2022, 2023 is rough. And so it's really taught me how to work for the business instead of just expecting it to come to you or getting used to it coming to you. And then when things get hard, you're shocked. So that was a blessing in disguise too.
I think that too, one thing that I love about you is that you are very self-sufficient, right? And you're going to figure it out. And one of my favorite quotes by Marie Forleo is everything is figure outable. But I think that many agents think that we don't have to do much, that they come from a background where maybe they sold their home and they're like, well, all that agent did was put a sign in the yard and I can do that for whatever the commission is. And
Yeah.
I have to remind people frequently, and I know we've had this conversation, that masters make things look easy.
Yeah.
So, masters, people truly good at their craft, make that experience look a lot easier than it actually is until you're in it.
Yeah.
And learning with my client discussion checklist and stuff like that, how important it is to assume that no one else is going to do their job.
Hmm.
And you and I have talked about this before too, where you can't assume that someone's going to do their job.
No.
So we have to make sure, because at the end of the day, it falls on us, right?
Yeah, I think it's especially easy to make it look easy with social media too. Everything is so just hit the truth is really hidden. You know, what we post online is the happy times, like just sold, just listed, happy clients, here's a review. A lot of stuff I post is educational because I want to provide value up front. And it's all positive stuff, but there's a lot of work in the back end that people don't see. One thing I've just recently like realized is that the least favorite part of real estate for me is prospecting. And so I had to find a way to make it fun. And so I started doing more pop buys, more letters, handwriting things, making crafts, doing things that I like to make it not work. But there is still making the calls is hard, not my favorite part. But being in a transaction, it's you really feel like you're doing good and it feels like natural to me. It's just that upfront work is where I probably struggle the most.
Well, and it's great that you say that, because I think that genuinely is where most agents struggle, right?
Hmm.
And so you've learned from what I've done all these years is getting my letters out and having client events and doing
Yeah.
parties and things like that. And even I've been having some fun this year doing like little canning classes. And I
Hmm.
was watching you make your fall decoration ideas, and I
Yeah.
was like, you should have that would be a fun client event to have everybody,
Yeah.
have several come and they get to
Hmm.
walk away with a themed decoration, right? I'm not very talented in that area. So I have the parties, you could decorate.
Yeah, I've been thinking about planning one of those too. I think maybe in October or something, I'll do something like that. September's gonna be over in a blink of an eye.
I
Yeah.
know. So let's actually talk a little bit about social media, because you've really embraced social media. Obviously, you're younger than me, so it's a little more prevalent for you. But what have you done? And did you make a plan? Are you following certain people? And how have you gotten results from it?
I do follow quite a few agents, but I try not to really steal ideas or content unless it's hard to draw that line too, because especially with TikTok, it's literally copying. Sounds are meant to be copied, ideas are meant to be copied, but I try to keep it original and educational. So everything I post is to benefit somebody and teach somebody, okay, how do you buy a house? What does it look like to get a loan? What are the steps to be taking on the front end? And those are the questions people have. One of my biggest tools is keywords everywhere, which Mitzi actually introduced us to. And basically, what it does is it allows you to type in questions and things in Google. and it tells you how many people are searching for that item. And if it has a lot of search results, then obviously people are asking that question. Another good resource is to ask a question in Google. You could type up like different loan programs or how to buy a house, and it will tell you like other people are asking, and there's tons of questions that people are asking to Google. So that's where I get most of my content, and then I just put all those questions and ideas into a spreadsheet and pick one. A lot of times when I'm scrolling on TikTok, I will be just listening to the sounds, not really caring what the video's about. And if I think the sound can relate to an idea I have on that spreadsheet, I'll save it and use it when I'm ready to make a video about that topic.
Fun to watch the
Go ahead.
stuff you've done on social media. It's been really fun. And
Yeah,
I
they're
mean, I
fun
don't
to make.
understand a
It
lot
takes
of
time.
it. Yeah. What has been your most watched, your viral video?
So I have two really viral videos. One's on Instagram, and that's about real estate. It's the scene from The Last of Us where he says, like, you have to be quiet, not silent, or silent, not quiet, but silent. And it's a joke about going into an open house with cameras. I gained probably like over 100 followers off that one video, and another video that was a little bit less popular, but was about the California Dream for All program, got me an actual buyer.
Oh,
The
wow.
other video on TikTok that went viral was my kids. And like you told me this, to take advantage of having kids and pets because they are the most watched videos. Every video I do with my daughter, people love it. And it's like, why not include them and show what real life is and show that I'm not just a realtor. I'm a mom and I have a life, and I'm not just like this robot.
But I did tell you that because the ones of Lily are precious, and
Oh, yeah.
you should. I told you, I go, you need to use that little girl. Pay her a salary. She gets a salary so you can write it off on your taxes. Check with your
Right?
tax. And pay her a little salary to be your spokesperson because she is a character and I love her
Yeah.
personality. I always say I love her mostly because at what, not even 4 years old, I don't think,
Mm-mm.
she would come over and she would say my name so clear. She'd go, Marguerite. And most adults can't say my name. So it was pretty impressive that she could say my name so well at a young
Yeah.
age.
The hardest part is getting her to repeat what I'm trying to the scripts I give her. I have to do it in very small increments and then stitch the videos together. And so it sometimes feels forced, but it's hilarious. Her facial expressions, the way she says things, just it has, like you said, so much character that it makes it entertaining. But
So, what would you say has been the thing that surprised you most about real estate? Like something you were expecting to be a certain way, and then it ended up not being a certain way?
the most surprising thing, I think it goes back to like how much work there is on the forefront. Like before something actually turns into anything, because you really don't see the background, like what people are doing to get deals, to get clients. And that's the hardest part for me, is putting the work in before there's any reward. I also was surprised at how long it would take for me to be able to get to a point where I can do it full time, because it's hard to leave that stability of having an income and then going into the huge jump when we bought a house. So we had to prioritize that. It was either, do I quit my job and we keep renting, or do I buy a house now while I have that W-2 and the years of job history? But our bills go up tremendously because of when we bought. And so it was just a sacrifice we had to take, but it's definitely made it harder to move forward and do this full time, which is the ultimate goal.
So, what was that process like of you buying your own home? Because I know it's so funny. I've always said that agents should have to buy or sell a house or do a loan every 2 or 3 years so they can appreciate what the clients go through.
Yeah.
Because a couple of years ago, we bought a house in San Diego, and oh my gosh, I haven't bought a house or done a loan in many years. So that whole process I had to go through in order to buy a second home was like, wow. I'm like, do my
Yeah.
clients really have to go through this?
Did you represent yourself?
I did not. I actually hired an agent in San Diego. I started to think, oh, I can do it. And I was going to join the board and all that down there. And then I started thinking, man, no, because I'm 9 hours away from where the house is we bought. So
Yeah.
to have to fly down there, look at homes, and homes were selling so quickly, just like they are in our market, that it would have been almost impossible for me to stay on top of it. So I opted to hire an agent in that area. But I told him out of the gate, I said, I'm just going to let you know, I've been doing real estate for 30 years. And so I'm going to be pretty involved in this deal, but I will pay
Yeah.
you a referral.
Yeah. That's a good point, because I think that makes the difference is that it was so far away. If you bought a house here, would you represent yourself?
I would have represented myself. But do I recommend it as a new agent? No. I would
Mm-mm.
recommend that you either partner with somebody or
Yeah.
have somebody else represent you. And the biggest
Right.
reason and why it was different for me too is when you're buying a home here, typically, not always, it's your own personal home. So you're so emotionally involved. And it's heartbreaking. Like I have buyers right now and I'm struggling to get offers accepted for them, and it's going to happen, I know that, but they get so discouraged and it's so emotional for them. So I can't imagine me being the buyer and representing myself when buyers and sellers frankly get become wackadoodle emotional in the middle
Yeah.
of a real estate deal, right?
Yeah. It was especially hard representing myself because it was my second transaction, and I was actually in 3 escrows when we were buying our house. So I had all that stress, but knowing all the details of what's happening on, like, the agent side and the personal side just makes it, like, 20 times worse. I wish I would
Yeah.
have let you do it and show me how it's done. But I'm grateful too at the same time because I learned how to represent a buyer with being able to give myself grace and know, "Okay, this is my first time doing it, there's gonna be hiccups." And then when it was
Yeah.
time for me to represent a buyer, because my first deal was a listing, I felt more confident in myself. But yeah, I remember calling you because the loan, there was a little hiccup, and I was like ready to just say, no, screw it, we're not doing this. And Michael, my husband, was the same way. He was done. And you told us to sleep on it and call you tomorrow. And it literally worked. So I'm using that one.
That's probably been one of my greatest tips and tricks in this industry is it because
Yeah.
what's funny is great people can become not so great in the middle of a real estate deal
Yep.
because the stress and emotion of it. And so I learned a long time ago to just let people take a night and sleep on it and relax. And then if they still feel the same way the next day, then in my opinion, it was meant to be. We need to move forward with their decision. But
Yeah.
most of the time, it's just this overwhelming stress. And it's like when your little kids are having those meltdown in the grocery store because they're tired and they're hungry. And as soon as they get to sleep,
Yep.
they wake up, they're happy as a clam, right?
Yep.
We do the same thing as adults, but we don't like to call it a toddler tirade. But
Right.
it happens in the middle of a deal. And as real estate agents, I think the best thing that we can always do is to remain really calm and neutral to
Hmm.
allow people to clear their head and make a decision that makes the best sense for them, right?
Yeah. That was another big thing that you taught me was my client's going to react how I react. So if I'm freaking out, they're going to freak out. And that was especially a thing when I had a transaction going and we had a little issue with a death certificate and the title company in the coroner's office and all this mess. And the seller's obviously grieving. It's already a really intense situation. And we're here at the closing table and now there's a hiccup. And I I really had to stay positive and like calm for her, or else she would have just lost it.
Yeah.
She was already losing it. Yeah, it makes a huge difference if you have the ability to control your emotions too. And that's hard to do when you're representing yourself.
And I've watched you. It's been really fun to watch you because typically somebody that is young like you doesn't have as much grace and control over those situations. And so it's been really amazing to watch you blossom and grow and learn from that. And to me, you're like a sponge. Like you're so willing to listen, which I think is also something that contributes to your success is you're willing to take it all in, take a deep breath, listen to what people have to say. You might not always follow the advice or you might not always do exactly what someone suggests, but what I do know is that I watch you absorb it and listen, and you are
Yeah.
paying attention more than most, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to do things in real estate, like different ways to handle situations, and there's no right or wrong, but it really helps to hear the different advice from you, from Mitzi, Heather, and Nicole, because you guys all are different people and different agents. The disc assessment taught me a lot because me and Mitzi are
Yeah.
like the same person, and you're like the opposite person, but it teaches you also how to understand other agents on the other side. Like, why are they behaving this way, or why are they dealing with the transaction this way? It's because of their personality.
Yeah.
So, like for
That
me, I'm a
disc
very
assessment.
big communicator. In my last transaction, the guy didn't communicate at all, and it was hard for me to manage that, like really hard.
It's funny because we were having that conversation, and we always tease Mitzi a bit that she uses a lot more words than I do to
Yeah.
get the same point across. And so it's interesting because I've watched how that disc profile was a game changer for me.
Yeah.
And if anybody's listening and you want a free disc profile report, just message me and I'll get you a link off to do that report for you. But it's been a game changer because you're right. It helps me to understand that it's not just you being obstinate or having issues or doing something not the way I think. It's more the style that you operate in and function in.
Right.
And it's not a right or wrong. It's you just have a different way of doing things. So it becomes
Yeah.
not so personal, I think, is
Yeah.
what it helped me to see is that it's not personal. It's just who you are and how you function and operate.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what are you excited about? What is next for you? I know that your goal is to because you work a full-time job, you have two
Hmm.
young kids under the age of 5 and a third one, your husband. And so you're trying to balance being a wife, a mom, an employee and a business owner. How are you making all that come together? How are you making that work?
Structure. It's hard to even do that with kids, but just I have to time block and I have to make time for things that are important. And so it sadly, real estate ends up coming up to be on the back burner a lot of times because my job is a priority right now, and my kids and family will always be the first priority. But just making time after work in the evenings, on the weekends to do real estate related items is what's led to the success I've had. If I don't put the work in, that I see the results not there. But when I put the work in, things start happening. I just can't wait to see like how much more I can achieve if I can put like every ounce of me into it during the day. Putting Lily just started school, and the goal is to get Luke in daycare because he's it's a hard one. I can't get anything done with him around. But Lily's easy.
Boys are
She's watching
different than
TV
girls.
right now. Yeah. So if I could get him into daycare and I had the ability to do it full time, oh my gosh, endless possibilities. And it's so exciting.
So what would you say is next for you in this next year? What are you hoping to accomplish?
I definitely want to get into it full time. I really want to start making events more of a priority and getting together with people. One thing I really want to do is drop lunches off to businesses that are in my life and people that I lean on through real estate and showing my appreciation. A big as a step that I already made was going out on my own, and it's been really cool to be able to market myself and really get my name out there. One gal that I met with actually told me she had heard my name, and I was like, "What?" It's working, but it's cool too because a lot of people they know me because of my association with you, which is just huge because it gives all the credibility in the world. People are like Marguerite, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like her daughter, so no, no big deal. So
How's it worked with Michael? How's he handling everything?
it was rough at first, getting used to the constant need for me to walk away and answer the phone, and the constant me being gone. Sometimes, like some weeks, I'm gone every night, every, and that's hard because he gets home. He's an electrician, so he works very labor intensive and gets home and he cooks dinner for us every night because he enjoys it. But then he's got the kids, and it's then I'm leaving. We don't see each other. He's stressed. I'm stressed. So we need to prioritize date nights more. It's just hard. And I'm hoping it'll get easier once I'm not working two jobs, or technically three if you count daycare. But I don't know if it will get any easier. I think it's just communication. We've learned that we need to communicate the way we're feeling when things are hard. and then making time for one another to do what's important for each other. Yeah. I know you and Joe had the same trials and tribulations.
Yeah, we've been through it. We've been together 37 years. The only difference that I think does help somewhat is he's also in the real estate industry, so he understands a little bit more about what I deal with on a daily basis. But he's retired now, so now my job is to kick him off the couch, right? Do something anywhere. But
Yeah, I think that makes it
well,
a little easier. Because he's also having to step away and take phone calls, and it's not a 9 to 5, it's an all the time. And you can control certain things, like when your open house is going to be held and when you do showings, but when that phone rings, like you can't control that. Yeah.
as we wrap up today, I just want to say how incredibly proud I am of you. I love watching you blossom and grow and bloom, and I just it's so fun to watch and see what you're doing, and I'm just really incredibly proud of you. So go get them, girl.
Wouldn't be here without you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on another fabulous episode of Real Estate Real World, where, as I said, we get to talk to all the cool people. I especially love to talk to the young, up and coming rookies and rock stars like Alicia, and it's exciting to see that fresh, new perspective. So thank you for joining us today, Alicia, and thank you, everybody out there in Real Estate Real World land. Be sure to follow us on all your social profiles and check us out on all the podcast apps. We're all out there. So thanks for joining us. And if you would like to be a guest on our show, or have somebody who would be a great guest, please shoot me a PM. Have an amazing day, everybody.
Thank you for joining us today on Real Estate Real World, where we talk with masters and leaders in real estate and beyond on how we can raise the bar in our industry. Please subscribe over on iTunes. And while you're there, be sure to give us a review. Your reviews encourage us and help others find our podcast. For show notes and hot topics on what's going on right now in our real estate industry, hop on over to www.realestaterealworld.com and add your name to our email. Thanks again for listening. And go out there, be a part of the elite masterclass in raising the bar on the real estate industry.